Right now, as Harry's shoes touch the ground of England, don't let the humanitarian headlines fool you. This isn't a mission of healing. This isn't a son seeking his father's embrace. This is the image of a man who spent his life burning down every royal bridge behind him, now scrambling through smoke-filled rubble. Look at this blatant hypocrisy. This is the same man who once sat under the warm California lights accusing his own flesh and blood of cruelty. The same man who signed million-dollar checks to proclaim to the world that this monarchy is a toxic prison, only to now crawl back into that very toxicity the moment the wind changes direction. Harry made a fatal mistake. He traded the protection of the throne for a few podcasts and the power of a prince for a Hollywood PR job. He deluded himself into thinking, "I didn't need the firm until reality slapped me in the face." Because you never flee to a place you hate unless it becomes hell outside. You never seek refuge in a prison unless the outside world becomes infinitely more brutal. This isn't love. This is a cold, desperate awakening that a Hollywood media team is merely a paper shield against a real storm. Harry traded his self-respect for a hiding place, begging for silence from the very institution he once wanted to destroy. But the silence he craved has been crushed. And the reason for this panic isn't in London. It's screaming from a bar of solitary confinement in Florida. The reason for that fear begins thousands of miles away, inside the sterile, suffocating silence of a federal prison cell in Florida. Ghislaine Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year sentence, her empire of influence reduced to concrete and razor wire. But do not mistake her isolation for powerlessness. In the high-stakes game of global elite survival, the most dangerous person is the one who no longer has anything to lose. For decades, Maxwell was the architect of silence, the woman who built a fortress of secrets around Jeffrey Epstein's world. But silence is a currency that only has value when it can buy you a future, and Maxwell's future is already written in the dust of a prison floor. The narrative shifting behind closed doors suggests a terrifying new reality. The architect has started to talk. Not in whispers, not in cryptic riddles, but in names. Real, heavy, undeniable names. People stay quiet when they have leverage. They speak when they have none. Behind those reinforced walls, she is reportedly laying out the map of every elite room she once controlled, every private jet flight, and every shadow that moved through Epstein's inner circle. When someone like Maxwell decides to shatter the glass, the fallout doesn't start with a headline. It begins with frantic, late-night phone calls, emergency legal summits, and the sudden, desperate realization that a royal title is no shield against a federal deposition. Reputations are fragile things, easily burned by the cold fire of sworn testimony. Once a name is uttered behind those closed doors, it cannot be unsaid, and it certainly cannot be managed by a glossy PR statement. The ripple effect of her words has already crossed the Atlantic, moving with a predatory speed that no amount of Hollywood spin can outrun. This isn't just about a past friendship, it's about proximity to a darkness that refuses to stay buried. Because Maxwell didn't just know the powerful, she managed their access. She understood exactly which corridors they used to move between their public lives and their private sins. And as her testimony begins to trace those very corridors, the trail leads directly to a place where the lights are low, the members are exclusive, and the secrets were supposed to be permanent, the velvet-lined hallways of Soho House. There exists a space where power does not announce itself, where influence moves without headlines, and where access matters more than titles. Soho House. It is not merely a social club. It functions as a sealed corridor of power, a private ecosystem where finance, politics, and entertainment intersect away from public scrutiny. Within that ecosystem, Meghan Markle's name appears with a consistency that invites attention, not as a leading star, not as a producer or financier, but in a quieter, less defined role, often described by insiders as a social filler, someone present to smooth conversations, balance rooms, and occupy the invisible gaps of elite gatherings. There are no allegations attached to that role, no charges, no accusations. And yet, repetition alone has a way of generating unease, especially when those appearances align with environments known for concentrated power and discretion. Suspicion sharpens the moment numbers enter the narrative. A supporting television actress, earning within a modest industry range, somehow sustaining a lifestyle that suggests something else entirely. International travel. Extended stays in luxury cities, events in places like Istanbul in 2015. Not simply a cultural destination, but a crossroads where global financiers, political intermediaries, and media power brokers routinely pass through. Basic arithmetic begins to falter. Publicly understood income strains under the weight of private expenditures. Flights, hotels, access, none of it cheap, none of it casual. When figures refuse to align, curiosity becomes unavoidable. If the income doesn't stretch far enough, what or who closes the gap? And more importantly, through which network does that support flow? The pace tightens when history enters the frame. This pattern is not unprecedented. Other royal families have faced moments where individuals arrived with backgrounds that raised quiet questions, not because of proven wrongdoing, but because of unanswered financial and social inconsistencies. Each time, the institutional response followed a familiar rhythm: silence, containment, image management. The lesson from those precedents is unsettlingly consistent. The real threat is never a scandal itself. It is the unanswered question. And unanswered questions have gravity. They linger. They pull attention forward. Because when personal narratives intersect with closed power networks and unexplained resources, history suggests one thing above all else: the story never truly ends. It only waits for the moment when the numbers demand an explanation. If you believe the Sussex story is a unique tragedy, you are fundamentally misreading the script. Royal houses do not survive for centuries by being fragile. They survive by being predators of the past. They are ancient machines, built to absorb, sanitize, and bury any history that threatens the stability of the throne. Look at Princess Sophia of Sweden, a glamour model from the elite party circuits. Her history was quietly erased by the heavy shadows of the palace. Look at Mette Marit of Norway. Her ties to Epstein were neutralized with a clinical, public apology, before she was swallowed forever by the silence of the crown. These institutions do not value truth. They value stability. They take the debris of a messy, jet-setting life and inter it beneath layers of ceremony, diamonds, and duty, until the past is no longer a reality, but a controlled myth. They don't just hide secrets. They exhume them, neutralize them, and lock them in gilded vaults where the public can no longer breathe life into them. But there is a fatal flaw in the Sussex gamble. This system of burial only works within the fortress walls. Harry and Meghan didn't just leave the fortress. They tried to weaponize the very secrets this institution was designed to suppress. They forgot one thing: when you step out of the royal shadow, you aren't free. You are simply exposed. The crown can manage a socialite. It can manage a model. But it is entirely unprepared for a world where the past doesn't return as gossip, but as a sworn deposition. The precedent of Prince Andrew proved a brutal truth. When the silence finally shatters, even a king's son can be liquidated to save the machine. And as the walls close in, the most terrifying question isn't what the public thinks, it's what the legal record is about to reveal. If you still think this is about gossip, look at Prince Andrew. Andrew didn't lose his standing because of the tabloids. He lost it because of testimony. He fell because once a victim like Virginia Giuffre speaks under oath, the fairy tale collapses instantly. That is how scandals actually end. Not with headlines, but with records. And here is the detail that should keep Harry awake at night. Meghan Markle's name was already there. During the civil cases that destroyed Andrew, investigators didn't look at her as a defendant, but as a witness. They saw a woman living in America. A woman with close proximity to Andrew's inner circle. A woman who moved through Epstein's world while the abuse was actively occurring. They believed she had something worth asking about. And once a subpoena is issued, no PR strategy in the world can put the genie back in the bottle. This brings us to the ultimate fatal question. What did Harry know? And when did he know it? If he knew about his wife's past, then he helped protect a secret that is now exploding. Then he walked blindly into a trap that threatens to incinerate everything he has built. Either way, the fairy tale is dead. Because this was never about jealousy or tabloids or family feuds. It was always about who was in the room and how much longer the silence can protect the power. As the royal silence shatters and the legal storm closes in, one thing is certain: the fairy tale is officially over. But where do you stand on this? If you believe Harry knew the truth all along and is now just playing damage control, comment 2. If you think he was blindsided and is only now realizing the trap he's in, comment 3. Subscribe now and hit the bell to stay ahead of the headlines. The truth is coming. Don't be the last to know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.